I was a senior executive at, you probably know him, and I said, keep applying to TD, they're gonna hire you, right? So maybe, you know, you don't go and say, I worked at HR, blah, 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 they will hire you. They do, they hire
I
international.
went there 4 times.
Do it 5, do it 5 times. I'm telling you, I hate to say this to all of you, job searching, it's a game, or a numbers game, not a game. But I'm telling you, he every day I had him for business communication, not last semester, the semester before, and he was like, I did this in China. Do you know what I mean? And I kept saying, keep going, like literally, and it will work. Especially, I promise you, everything, you know, not just TD one time, keep doing it. They'll hire you. You know what I mean? They will, I promise.
Personally, I have heard that TD Bank requires initial reference in order to
No.
get selected for the short interview.
No, he said that to me. Send me your resume though, because I will say I went through this with him. He said the same thing. I'm too high level. They don't recognize my degree. I'm like, no. But I kept saying, he interviewed, he didn't get a job, then he interviewed again. You know what I mean? Like,
one of my senior classmates who got selected for the short interview, final interview with TD Bank,
Yeah.
she told me that she actually took reference from one of the existing employees,
yeah,
but she did not have any banking experience.
Okay.
I had a lot of banking experience, but I didn't also.
Yes.
It's also the interview.
so do it again. But send me a resume. I'm telling you, I had this same conversation, same thing with him. Like, he was like, it's international, it's too high level. I'm like, no, keep doing it. Keep doing, all of you. Don't feel like it's, I applied 6 times, do it 7, do it 8. You know what I mean? Like, they will hire, I'm telling you, they'll hire you. But it may keep going. And that's the other thing. I know it's easy for me to sit here and say, don't take rejection hard, but don't take rejection hard. Keep going. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like, do it.
Another big problem is we have 5 days class in a week, so it is difficult for the employer also to hire us.
I know. And that's feedback I think that has to go. Because why don't they just condense where you have, I mean, I work today 12 hours, that's why I'm losing my voice. I work from 10 to 10, okay? But I have Monday off and I have Friday off. That's just my teaching schedule. But I think that's something that they need to combine your days, right? So that maybe you're coming Tuesday, Thursday, and 2 hours on Wednesday, right? I know. Did you guys bring that up?
They have 4 hours shift in a day.
Yeah.
So it is more difficult to accommodate candidates like us.
Yeah.
As compared to the candidates who are available for full-time and also part-time, who have like 2 days classes, like engineering students of
Yes. Yes,
5 days classes.
I agree. But they also need people on the weekend, because they're full-time people who don't wanna work, right? And they're used to that. So I said, I don't remember, I told the other class, my mom, used to be a manager at Zehrs, and her part-time people were like her lifeline, because Saturday night, you know, nobody wants to work, the students would work. Saturday or Sunday night, you know what I mean? Like, they need people to take these shifts. Keep going, I'm not kidding. And I work with engineering too, they complain too. So just so we know, it's always that initial, and again, it's easy for me to sit here and say, oh, keep going, it gets easier. It does, I promise, because I have this conversation every semester. It's just keep pushing through, keep applying. It's a number, and I'm talking about part-time, by the way, right now. But keep doing it. And sometimes TD comes on campus. So have you talked to Clemenza about the things, or not yet? Okay. Because she has contacts with them too, that they'll come, you know what I mean? And they will, for all of you, I know you have experience, I'm not just speaking to all of you, but when I was in university, I wanted to work in a bank, but they never hired me. But I applied once, by the way. So that's what I mean. Like, if I applied maybe twice, I would have got the job, but that's what I mean, okay? All right. I know it's not easy, I know. Any other comments before we continue here? We're gonna leave at 9, I made a decision. Are we good with leaving at 9? Okay, I know. But I'm gonna continue super quick. So, recognizing, oh, I mentioned this here. Really understanding yourself. There's a book, I'm gonna try to find a free version. It's called Strength Finder 2.0. It actually gives you a test so you know what your top 5 strengths are and your lowest strengths, right, or your weaknesses. I like it because it's quite accurate. And recognizing you can speak to your strengths, and those weaknesses will give you opportunities to develop those weaknesses, okay, in that regards. Understanding the organization, we already talked about this sense. This is actually the checklist that I recommend when you're researching a job for an interview. So knowing the organizational mission, vision, and values, baseline. When I worked at the hospital, we would ask, what are Windsor Regional Hospital's values and how do you align to that? Is that a dumb question? Yes, but we ask that, right? So recognizing baseline, knowing that. Know the core of the business, who their customers are, products and services. I had an MBA this morning tell me he had an interview for Blue Point Inc. I'm like, what is that? Apparently they're a management consulting firm, and I would go in that interview and be like, is it like a marketing company? You know what I'm saying? You wanna go in having a good conversation. If you can, the organizational culture, current events, so going on Google and going to news, searching Stellantis Canada, you see lots of news in regards to that. You can again have that intelligent conversation to say, wow, you guys must be relieved that you got your funding. Do you know what I mean? Easy things to talk about. The organizational chart, if you can. And then any industry trends, opportunities, threats. And then importantly, individual profiles. So if you find out you're gonna be interviewing with Diana Sarkis tomorrow, wouldn't it make sense to Google Diana Sarkis and see what she's all about? Yes. I will say I had the worst person I ever hired in HR. I hate her to this day, just so you know. She, at that point, was interviewing, and I, at that point, was the president of the HRPA Windsor chapter, and she had alluded, oh, do you all go to the HRPA Windsor chapter together? And I'm like, oh yeah, we always have a night out, and you know, I'm actually the president, blah, 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 blah. Did that make me like her more? Yes. Was that the worst hiring mistake I ever did? Yes. But also, if you know who you're interviewing with, it's helpful, right? Would we agree with that? Okay? Social media, just be mindful, clean up your social media. They will Google you, even if it's not the interview team when you're hired and they announce Diana Sarkis is gonna be teaching human resource management, you probably Google that person, right? So you don't wanna have anything that would rescind a job offer, so inappropriate pictures, offensive comments, just make sure you clean that up, make your profile private, those types of instances, okay? I like this slide. It's actually what to bring to an interview, so your packing list. Always bring 5 copies of your resume. Now you may say, well, they should have that. What if they don't, right? And they say, do you have your resume? 5 is more than enough if they don't, and you come looking prepared. No big deal printing those. A list of references and their contact information. If you're being asked for references in a interview, that means it's going well, okay? So if they're asking for it, they're interested in you. And I've been guilty of this too. Oh, you didn't ask me to bring your references, I'll email you. Is it a big deal? No. But again, you wanna look prepared, right? So bring that just in case. A pen and a notepad. Obviously being professional as they talk, you can make notes, right? You can also, sometimes as you're interviewing, sometimes those interview questions can be overwhelming, right? Give me an example of a time you dealt with conflict, what was the outcome, who was involved, and what did you do, or what did you learn? Maybe jotting, conflict, what happened, you know what I mean? So that you're able to answer those questions. A copy of the job posting. If you're left in the lobby for 25 minutes waiting, you can review the job posting, right? And sometimes even showing how you wrote it up, they like that. The other thing is a prepared list of questions. So when you're asking questions to the interview team, which you will always ask questions, write them out in advance so you're not coming at the spot indicating, you know, oh, I don't know what to ask or anything in that regard. One question I always recommend as your last question is what is the next steps in the interview process or the recruitment process? Why? Because oftentimes you don't know. It could be 5, 6 weeks, a month. Give yourself that anxiety, or save yourself that anxiety by asking. So at least you know their timeline in that regard. A folder and a portfolio, and then I add recommends. Why? not because people have bad breath, but you wanna feel, confident, right? So when you're ultimately have good smelling breath in that regard, you're not worried about someone comes close to you, anything in that regard, okay? Give your references a common courtesy to actually let them know you're using their name. Now, I'm not talking about someone like me, you're all free to do that, but pretend you work somebody back at the bank that you haven't talked to in a couple years, or whatever, couple months. Maybe you wanna give them the heads up that they're gonna be contacted, because you never want your references to come and say, oh, Diana, she's looking for a job, you know, catch them off guard. It's professional courtesy. I do have a template, and again, always give your, when you're asking for a reference, an out. Of course, if you're not comfortable, I completely understand, right? Just so that they can say no, they won't say no, but just in case, okay? These are things, I'm gonna tie up because I'm losing my voice. But these are things that I think about how to make you good at interviews. What? 100% practice, 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 practice. Those of you who don't like interviewing, if you practice, 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 you will like interviewing. You will feel more confident and comfortable. So when you're asked, tell me about yourself, you're not like, oh, I hate this question. You're like, showtime, like, it's my time to shine. And there are different ways you can do that. You can practice out loud in front of a mirror, okay? I record people, so when I actually coach people for interviews, I'll turn on my computer and say, do you realize how boring you sound? Like, you need to sound more engaging, more confident, more exciting. But even record yourself and think to yourself, am I boring myself? Do I sound confident? Do I sound exciting? Or can I do better here, okay? So recognizing that's a way. Practice with a friend, use flashcards, etc. Okay, so those are things that we can think about. I'm actually gonna end here because I did share, and this is all behavioral based, which we all know because you work with clients on this regard. But again, things that you can think about. The other thing that came up in the other classes, I do have a list of 25 questions that I like candidates to ask. This is my perception, doesn't mean that it's the best. There is one, I always say it's confidential, or not confidential, controversial, where people are now asking, because there's this advice on the internet, do you have any hesitations about my qualifications or experience? I don't like that question. Why? You're ending your interview on a negative note. So oftentimes the advice is to actually indicate so that you can overcome those hesitations. But I actually say, maybe I should write this in my guide here. I said, and I did this with engineering, I said, we talked about a lot here today. Is there anything we shared today that you want more information on? And they actually did ask me to go back because at Odette, we don't have an issue with plagiarism. In engineering, they do. Okay, it's a big issue, but I don't deal with it a lot at Odette because people don't do it. So they said, can we go back to that plagiarism question? And if you had to deal with it, what would you do? Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's something in a way, okay? Any questions? It looks like you all want to go home, but any questions? You all want to be at the 8, look, I'm telling you, tomorrow I'm going to have no voice. Every Thursday I lose my voice, but I'm going to start taking tea, okay? Everyone have a wonderful reading week. I will put up the sign-up sheet for the midterm, but take some time off, right? I'm sure you all need it. Don't you agree? You're tired? Yes. All right, have a good night, everyone.